Hello, today's Bible study comes from John chapter 18, verses 19 through 23, and reads as follows. Meanwhile, the high priest questioned Jesus about his disciples and his teaching. I have spoken openly to the world, Jesus replied. I always taught in synagogues or at the temple where all the Jews came together. I said nothing in secret. Why question me? Ask those who heard me. Surely they know what I said. When Jesus said this, one of the officials nearby slapped him in the face. Is this the way you answer the high priest? He demanded. If I said something wrong, Jesus replied, testify as to what is wrong. But if I spoke the truth, why did you strike me? Then Annas sent him bound to Caiaphas the high priest. Um, wow. This is when the high priest started asking Jesus questions, and it starts off. And the high priest had asked him questions, and what Annas was trying to find out is about his disciples. Um, and he probably want to know things like, did they do what you do? Do they have the power? Why did you select them? And he probably was scared of them. If they're doing what Jesus did and could speak like Jesus was and could draw a crowd like Jesus did, he's probably fearful because remember, they were mad at Jesus for being able to do what he did. And then he wanted to know about his word. Well, Jesus was telling you the word, um, and the religious establishment wanted to find out about his word because they didn't know it. They feared it. It was moving crowds and it was taking people away from them. And instead of accepting the word and having faith and knowing the word, they went against it. And then he wanted to know, he said, Jesus, where he says, I always taught in synagogues and in temples, in the temple where the Jews always meet, and in secret, I have said nothing. Jesus never hid. He was out and open. He was not afraid to share the word. He was in your face. He was present. It's almost to say Jesus was nomadic about his word. He went anywhere and everywhere to talk about the Lord and to do the Lord's will, as we all should do. We everywhere we go, we should speak about the Lord. The greatest conversation that can come out of our mouth is about the Lord. So he said, why do you ask me? Ask those who have heard me what I said to them. Indeed, they know what I said. And it wasn't that Jesus wasn't trying to cooperate with this man, but at this time, Jesus didn't have to say anything. Your legal right, like mine, you don't have to speak if you don't want to. And honestly, what were they charging him for? What was the purpose of asking him these questions when he had done nothing wrong? Jesus was innocent. And so he didn't have to answer these questions. So then it says, one of the officers who stood by, struck Jesus on the palm of his hand. Now, it says there, palm of the hand, and in the NIV it says it slapped him in the face. Wherever they hit him, why did you strike him? I'm going with face because I just don't know if a hand slap would do anything. But just reading the NIV John, when Jesus answered the guy, when he responded to the guy, the nearby official slapped him in the face. He put his hands on him. Now remember, Peter had just cut somebody's ear off. Jesus rebuked Peter, healed the gentleman, and then said, we don't do that. So Jesus hadn't shown any violence whatsoever. Matter of fact, he had been showing compassion and peace. And they said, is this the way you answer the high priest? Putting this high priest on a pedestal and making him believe that his title had some kind of status. And it didn't. You were talking to the high priest. You struck the high priest. And this was a demand when he said it. It was a man. So Jesus, being Jesus, responded nicely, says, if I said something wrong, if I was flippant with my mouth or said something that didn't appeal to you or that wasn't truth, Jesus replied, tell me what it was. Tell me what it was. But if I spoke the truth, which he did, then why you put your hands on me? Why did you strike me? And of course, you know that frustrated Annas. So what did he do? Annas sent him to see if it's a high priest. He was frustrated because he didn't have an answer. What was it to respond to? And so I'm going to send you up the ladder to the high priest. And Jesus was bound up and he sent Jesus away. And why would you have to bind up Jesus like he was a criminal that had murdered somebody or done something harmful to somebody? Jesus had just loved and taught and showed compassion. And they couldn't handle it. Amen.